Hey Campagna T-Rex fans, Todd Kerber here. Today's subject, wheel alignment. Several guys have asked me to do a video like this. The goal is to make sure that rear wheel is running straight and true. The last thing you want to do is crab walk down the road. There are slots on both sides of the axle. Basically, there's the front of the slot there and the rear of the slot is there. Tools you need are a 11mm open end, 14mm open end, and 28mm for the axle bolt and nut on both sides. Pull the cotter pin, loosen up the axle bolt, and then you loosen up the two locking nuts. Those are the 11mm. Then loosen up your 14mm locking nut, and this is your adjustment bolt. The goal is to make sure the rear wheel is straight. So if you loosened it all up and pushed everything forward, you're going to hit the front of the slot. Or if you had a loose chain and you pull it all the way back, you know those are the running straight and true on both sides. It's in the middle where it's difficult. The Campagna T-Rex doesn't have marks like some motorcycles do where you can see it easily. So wherever you have to do, whether you measure off the front of this slot or measure off the back of the slot like I do, make sure it looks the same on both sides. However you have to do it, that's the key to get the rear wheel running true. Then reverse the process, tighten up all the locking nuts, and tighten up your axle nut. Again, don't crank that down because it'll crush the bearings inside. You don't need to. And then I use hairpins instead of cotter pins. Whenever you do the adjustments back here, moving it, and you want to get that 1 inch of play in the drive chain, make sure it is off the jack. The T-Rex rear wheel is on the ground, bike is in neutral, and the parking brake is off. Riding behind Elliot Castro in the Smoky Mountains last year, I could see following him that his machine front tires, wheels were totally towed in. Wayne just fixed his machine. He has the maroon T-Rex. It was 1.5 inches on the front of the tire as opposed to the back of the tire. It was that bad. Front is a lot more difficult. When I purchased my 2007 1400R here 8 years ago in 2016, when I was on the interstate running 80 miles an hour, it was squealing, burning tires, and I could smell burning rubber. The alignment was that far off. Couldn't get anybody, no auto store, to do alignment around here, so I was kind of on my own to figure it out. I want to make sure I'm clear here with everybody. It is always best to go to an alignment specialist with specialized tools, computer, lasers, whatnot, to get all your measurements correct. Specialized techs and equipment that do wheel alignment. Front tires are pulled up on floating discs. Again, I don't have that. I gave Wayne Goodridge a call to get all of his specs, and then I called Duren, Burnside, Treksite. Both of those guys get the help of alignment specialists. But if you're mechanically inclined and you're kind of on your own and it's as bad as mine was, I'm going to show you how to get it at least close, and then when you can, take it to the experts with all the right equipment. Let's go over some basics before we get into it. I'm going to go ahead and put this photo in the video so you can pause it and look at it. But I want to explain camber, toe, and caster, just so everybody knows the basics of wheel alignment. Camber is degrees from plumb. Negative camber, positive camber. Talking with the guys in the Smoky Mountains, the theory behind negative camber, meaning wheel tilted in at the top just a little bit, is in this case, I'm on the right wheel here. If you make a hard left turn around a sweeping turn on a track or in the mountain roads, basically takes the bottom, if your wheel's tilted in, and when it starts to put pressure on the outside, basically your wheel becomes flat and more of the tread is in contact with the pavement for a hard turn. Toe in would be like this. Toe out. Caster is the pivot steering axis. This would be positive caster. This would be negative caster. And it has to do with where the axis is from the top A-arm to the bottom A-arm, degree of angle. Caster is the steering pivot forward and backwards. Only way on a Campagna T-Rex is this upper A-arm moving this side out and this side in will push the pivot point forward, and basically doing the reverse, this side in and that side out will pivot that top axis point backwards. So there's not a lot of adjustment there. I called Wayne Goodridge to chat with him about wheel alignment, and these are the figures that he gave me. Toe in 1/16, and that is on the front and the rear of the wheel. Camber is -5 degrees, so that's basically the top tilted in a little bit, and caster is plus 3.5 degrees. Second person I called was Duran Burnside, Trek Site. He's the Campagna T-Rex Atlanta, Georgia dealer, and he gave me these specs. Note the readings right there for the T-Rex, comparing plus 1/16 inch to Wayne's toe in, and positive toe is the same. And remember, that is the 16th inch from the front and the rear of your front tire. Negative camber also matches. And again, that is your wheel tipped in at the top just slightly. Caster from Wayne's measurements is plus 3.5, but here's a pretty big difference. It's plus 6.5 from Duran's spec sheet. Make sure the area that you're working on is level this direction. My garage tips out towards the opening of the garage door. It is level here. That's important when you do your camber. Make sure your steering wheel is nice and straight. Put either weights or a person in the driver's seat or driver and passenger seat. Wayne puts the driver driving the vehicle in the driver's seat. When he does it, I actually put 150 pounds is what I read in each seat. All the T-Rexes seem to wear on the inside and wear the tire out there first. You can see right here where I have a little bit of tread on the outside and in. I don't take my T-Rex on a track, and the hardest I ever rode was in the Smoky Mountains with the guys, and that was once a year. So I actually, when I did mine, I have a little bit of positive camber, meaning the top of the wheel is out a little bit. So I try to wear my tire evenly across on both fronts. Pick yourself up a 2x4, 8 foot long, cut it in half. Lay the 2x4s on edge against both wheels. Get 2 4-foot levels. Put the levels on both wheels upright against the tire and or the rim, front and back. The reason for the 2x4 is you can't get a good measurement if you put the level down here at the bottom. It moves around too much, and you basically need to get the level up on your wheel to get your toe in and toe out set. Take your dimensions front and rear of the level. My rear, other side is on the back side of the level, and I made mine perfectly parallel down the road. Both dimensions should be the same. Again, if a professional does it, the front and rear of the tire, it's toe in 1/16 of an inch. Once you have the toe set, I moved next to camber. And again, I went with level, but now I like to set basically the top some positive camber so my tire wears evenly across, more on the outside than inside, to even the wear out. Remember the specs from Wayne and Durand and Campagna call for -1/2 degree camber. I did not adjust caster on my machine because I don't have the specialized tools for angle of the steering pivot point, positive, negative. I only used these two eye bolts, if you will, here and here. This one is attached to the steering arm, and basically if you pull that one in, your toe in, pull that one out, your toe out. If you do them both at the same time, it's positive camber. If you pull them both in at the same time, it's negative camber. The Allen size is 3/8 and the 19mm on the nut. You do all your measurements with the T-Rex on the ground, but when I make adjustments and pull these Allen bolts and nuts apart, basically also loosening this nut and this nut, that is also 19mm. I like to put a jack underneath the A-arm here and lift the machine up just so the tire is almost off the ground. Because if you take this apart, it'll basically want to move towards your machine. When I take these bolts apart and loosen this nut up, I actually turn that eye hook out, half turn, full turn, and make my adjustments. Again, I've explained toe in, toe out, and then also camber, positive out, negative camber in at the same time, and make adjustment. I do want to explain this right here. If you loosen this nut, you can turn this back bolt and the eye bolt will go in and out. I didn't do it that way because I wanted to, if I was doing camber, it was hard for me to know exactly how much. If I just turned this eye bolt 1/2 turn each time, then I knew I was going out for camber the same, or vice versa in, and that's how I did it. But the guys at the shops with the professional equipment will use these adjustments here. They'll loosen that nut up and then basically turn all of these bolts to make their adjustment back here on the upper A-arm. Just to review, toe in, positive, toe out, negative. That's the first thing you do with the 2x4 and the levels on the outside, measuring front and back. I get that first so my wheels are running parallel down the road. Then the next thing I do, I put the level on the outside of the wheel to get plumb. Again, this was trial and error. I still had some tire wear on the inside. Another thing I ran into when I was making the adjustments at different times, when I drive down the road, my wheel was turned just a little bit to the right. So if you go up there in the front and put this wheel straight, this is where you want to drive. The front wheels turn just slightly that way. So what you want to do is then I turned in the steering eye bolt. This one goes in one turn to pull it in to straight. And basically on the other side, you take this steering bolt and go out. Go for a test drive, try it again, see if your wheel is straight. Again, it's trial and error, and I'm happy with my setup. Got my front left tire wearing almost perfectly even right now. If you can see the two marks right there, both sides. This is my only set I've never replaced. I've had these on my machine for 8 years. Elliot, when his was really far off, as I mentioned earlier, 1.5 inches off from the front and the back towed in, he went through 3 sets of tires. So all of this matters. The goal is to have even wear. So again, just to repeat, it's always best to go to the guys with specialized equipment. This will be my 35th fun and informative Campagna T-Rex video. If you like these video edits, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and share. Thanks for watching.